they're one of these special teams, aren't they? That for whenever they put on that jersey, something happens.
Because I said to Wayne, I said I've got to be the player first as well, because I've got to play. I've got to play well, and that's what drives me. And I've got to be on that edge. I can't be completely, utterly calm, cool, and collected, because that's not my character.
And this is what I've always said about these lads from Fiji, Samoa, and Tonga: get them angry, get them out of contract, and it's your man all day. Just move out the way.
Pod.
Rugby Pod.
Hello and welcome back to the Rugby Pod. I'm Andy Ryan. Big Jim and Goodey are with me as usual. It's a massive week as we look ahead to the start of the Guinness Six Nations. So we'll be joined by Wales Captain Dan Biggar to preview their game against Ireland. We'll also be previewing the Calcutta Cup clash in Edinburgh and looking back at some of the Premiership and URC action. So settle back, relax, and make sure you're subscribed on Spotify. How are we, lads?
Excited. Very excited. And I'm not going to pull you up on something too quickly, Andy Ray, but I am, because you just said it's a start of a massive week as we look forward to the Six Nations. Sod the Six Nations until the weekend. We are hitting Dublin on Wednesday night. We are hitting Edinburgh on Thursday night. God. And I am just elated to be able to get out there, drink a load of Guinness responsibly with Jim Hamilton, with blackcurrant in Dublin. Yes, I will be doing that. And just having a good time.
Honesty call. It might not be that responsible night one.
I'm going to tell the missus it's just going to be a few quiet ones.
I can't remember being this thirsty, lads. I cannot. I can't even remember being this thirsty. I don't know why. Well, I do know why. We've been locked up, and I know we've been out now and again, but it just feels like freedom. It just feels, I can feel it. And Andrew, we spoke on the phone today. I love this. I don't know whether other lads do this. Girls probably do it as well, about the looseness of the night. So I'm trying to get a gauge on where we are on Dublin. Are we on the rickshaw, which means we're heading somewhere and it's loose, or are we walking and it's just 10 or 15 responsibly? Because we've got Edinburgh on the Thursday. So what you don't want to do is blow a gasket. You know what I mean? You don't want to.
Oh, I do.
Yeah, you don't want to pop. You don't want to pop another, do you? That's you just steady go. So it's one of them where Wednesday could be big, Thursday is going to be bigger, Friday you're feeling sorry for yourself, but we've got an event at the Balmoral in Edinburgh on Friday night as well, and you've got to deliver on all these points. It's not just about us; it's about delivering to the masses, and we will do that. But this is more selfishly. Me and Andrew have been going through the process on the phone about rickshaw to not rickshaw, Edinburgh 10, 20, 30, 40, 6 a.m, 3 a.m, like what time, and trousers, trews or kilts. There's a lot of admin to get through. I did book the wrong flight as well. I put it out there. It was Tuesday that I booked, then Wednesday. I might need to book an earlier one on Wednesday because I've got my timings, but I'll be where I need to be is all I'm saying.
Is it offensive for an Englishman to wear tartan trousers to a black tie event? Some people might think I'm taking the pish. Other people might just think, what a clown. Either way, I don't care. I'm going with an apology. To that dinner on Friday night, I am going with a humble apology for making Scotland so shit over the last 15 years because I told Jim Hamilton to play for Scotland.
The rules are, or the laws, Andrew, however you look at it, the consensus, the in-house agreement is that if you're wearing a kilt and you're not Scottish, you need to wear your pants or your boxers or whatever you wear, unless you're hung like Malachi Fekitoa, then you don't want to be sweeping the floors, do you? So you're wearing your pants either way if you're not Scottish. So I think that is the rule of thumb, the consensus. And I've seen your bits. I mean, you're fine, just get some pants on. So if you do want to wear a kilt, get your pants or your boxers on. Because
I ain't wearing a skirt, mate. I ain't wearing a skirt.
It's a kilt. You can't say that. Are you going to bring a skin do or not?
What's a skin do? A bum bag?
What do you mean? No, that's not a bum bag. That's a sporran. A skin do is a knife in your sock in case it kicks off.
Mate, I ain't going. It ain't kicking off where I'm going. It's not a night out in Cod, pal. There's no need for a knife.
Last time we were in Edinburgh for a live show before the Calcutta Cup, Jim, you almost killed a guy.
I remember, actually, yeah.
I did. I don't want to look back too much on that. Well, firstly, you almost killed the room, Andy Rowe, because you had your bagpipes, and it sounded like 4 pigeons had got caught in the pipes. So, firstly, You killed the room. And then what we tried to do was have interaction with the crowd. It was at the Three Sisters, big shout out to the Three Sisters, and it was banging. They knew they were getting the Phil Godman story, so they come out in their droves, including Phil Godman's brother-in-law and uncle and sisters and dad, and they weren't happy. But anyway, I've called a man to the stage. There was women as well, but there was a lot of men. I called the man to the stage and said, who's going to hold Andy Rowe's notes for the bagpipes, because he doesn't know it off by heart, to play for Irish Scotland to pipe John Barclay in. And as we brought the guy up, I said, geez, mate, you're a bit old. Make sure you don't die on the way up, or something ridiculous like that. Lads.
I think you said you're pretty close to death's door. This could be the greatest and last night of your life.
That's what I said. That is actually what I said. You contextualise it right. That's what I said. I said, get up on stage. This is the greatest night of your life, and arguably one of the last things you'll do. Because he was a bit old, but it's obviously tongue-in-cheek. As he's walked up to the stage, he's tripped over one of the wires, we're rock and roll, so there's a lot of wires up on stage, and face planted. There's glass gone everywhere, and we're thinking, someone find the defib, someone find something, because this man has gone down in Chinatown. Luckily, he didn't, and I'm sure he'll be there at the next live show. But yeah, that's when times were good, and you can hear the excitement in all our voices.
We'll have a chat about the action on the pitch in a minute, but first of all, there's been quite a few stories off the field in the past week. Let's start with Mark McCall taking a break from his role as Saracens DOR for medical reasons. Jim, can you tell us more about what's going on there?
I can't say too much. It's not my place, is it, to say what's happened to Mark. I do know that he's okay. I messaged him. He messaged back. Not that is meaning that he's absolutely fine, but the fact that he replied means that he's himself to reply to me. But from what I'm hearing, I think he'd be slightly embarrassed by all the attention around him. I don't think it's as serious as it could have been. And as we know, everything's out there in the media. It's not for me to say what issue that he's got. But I think all the hysteria around him, knowing Mark McCall and speaking to a couple of my mates involved, he'll be slightly embarrassed by what's going on, just the character that he is, because he doesn't want the attention about him. But as we know, health is everything. Health is wealth, as they say. And sometimes when stuff like this happens, and we're talking about rugby and we're having a crack and there's stuff going on, and stuff like this happens, it shocks you, doesn't it? Because it just puts the brakes on a little bit. So, as regardless of what team you support, I think we're all wishing Mark McCall well. He's a good bloke. He's a healthy bloke. And yeah, there's obviously a lot gone on the last few years, and Saracens are coming through that. And he's a big part of that. So we wish him well, and hopefully it won't be too long until we see him holding the fort again.
And there's been a change at Worcester as well. Steve Diamond's taken over from Jonathan Thomas leaving the club. What's going on there, guys?
Well, it's a classic case of bring someone in to do a consultancy role. It's happened before, and that person that's come to do the consultancy has ended up with a top job. So yeah, Dimes, listen, JT is a friend of mine. He's a good guy. From what I understand, it's kind of, he's been pushed out the door. And we'll see what comes of it. Obviously Steve Diamond has got a huge amount of experience, and there's chat in the press at the minute that he's going straight back to his old club Sale to raid that for a few players. And fair play to him. It's a dog eat dog world out there. Someone comes in to do a job around, doing a review and looking at the club and being a consultant, so you get your feet under the table a little bit. Then you get your feet a little bit further. You sit on the chair and push the guy off his chair, and then you're the top dog, aren't you? So
I'm blaming Ashley. It's his fault, isn't it? When you look at it, whose fault is it? If you're going to blame someone, you can't blame anyone but him. So, Ashley, where are you going, mate? Doncaster? Who knows? Well, Donny, I wouldn't sign him. That's all I know. But what we should say, I don't know Jonathan Thomas personally, played against him. Everything you hear is a top bloke. What a classy tweet that he put out.
Yeah. 100%.
If it's me, I'm going down in a blaze of glory. I'm blaming Ashley. If I'm tweeting as head coach, I'm being like, one, I hate Dimes, I hate his dogs, I hate dogs, and it's all Ashley's fault. So fair play to him. I imagine he'll pop back up in Wales very soon. I think they need a bit of help in the regions, and everything you hear, it's a top guy, and I don't know if he's been paid out or whatever, get a couple of new teeth, and then he'll start again, will he?
Why is it always about the teeth, Jim? Yeah, I mean, that's you this year, isn't it? You had your B4s done.
No, it's just the light on the front of the teeth. They look great, don't they? Not.
While we're on aesthetics, there's been a change at the Exeter Chiefs. New logo. What do you guys make of that?
Well, I've started to look into NFTs, and I don't know whether they've gone down that route for that. I don't know. But if rumour has it that it's 500 grand to change your logo, I'd want my money back. Not if I'm Jack Noel, because it looks like Jack Noel. Surely not. I mean, because they've obviously gone through a rebrand, and I don't want to get into it. I don't want to talk about what I believe in and what I think of the world that we live in at the minute. But they've gone through a rebrand, and that's what they've come up with. I mean, NFT is all I'm saying, because that's where you're going to have the value, I think.
Fair play though. Whoever has managed to extrapolate 500 grand from anyone to come up with a badge that looks like that, they are some salesman, let me tell you.
Sale produced a big comeback to beat leaders Leicester live on ITV, didn't they, lads?
Yeah, they did. 21-5 down, Sale were. And they were, I can imagine Alex Sanderson at the time, when they were 21 points to 5 down, it's halftime team talk. It must have been absolutely raging, because it was the same old, loads of penalties, loads of errors. And he's come from a place where, when he got the job last year, he had a massive impact. They end up in the semi-finals. This year, their discipline has been absolutely horrific. And you could see after games, he was getting more and more. He's quite a placid bloke, and he controls his emotions really pretty well. Doesn't show his anger, but you could see it was bubbling inside him. And then I can imagine, I'd love to have been a fly on the wall at half-time in that changing room, because 21-5 down at half-time, Leicester were completely dominating. And Sale were all over the shop in terms of their discipline. But a few things happened. Freddie Burns goes off injured. Sale, found it within themselves to start winning collisions, start being a bit cleaner at the breakdown, reduce their error rate. Mike Forshaw, the defence coach, who is a really good bloke, he did an interview during the game on BT Sport and was absolutely livid at how the team were playing and how they were functioning. And then the reversal in that last 20 minutes was phenomenal. Some Leicester errors, but Roebuck on the wing, his try, ridiculous. War on the other wing, absolutely monumental wheels. And we've said it time and time again on here, haven't we? AJ McGinty is absolutely class.
Again, not going back a few weeks, but I'm going to go back a few weeks. And we mentioned the race to the top 4. And we did put Sale into that mix. And you're thinking in that first half, you're thinking there's not a chance here. No disrespect to Sale, but Leicester have put their second team out. Yes, they've still got, obviously, a load of class players. Jasper Wiese was back in the mixer as well. And you're watching that and you're thinking, I remember watching Sale last year, and Alex Sanderson was talking about the discipline. It was almost like a funny kind of narrative around it, because they were still winning. And they made top 4, lost to Exeter in the semi-final. And that was a good season in terms of where they've come from. And then we go into this season. I'm not too sure, I can't remember what you said, Goodey, but I had them in the top 4, and I'm obviously pushing them. And then, again, discipline. We're talking about discipline a little bit around scrum. They've lost Fafter-Clerk, but they've still got quality players. They've obviously signed George Ford for next season. Manu Tuolangi's got to come back. And you're thinking, can they make top 4? And then that second half, they just turned it on. They've got the physical attributes. There's no doubt about that without stating the obvious. They need Fafter-Clerk back. If they're going to be top 4, let's get into the crux of it. They need Fafter-Clerk back. Rafi Quirk is phenomenal. We love him. But in terms of the kicking game, that he can bring the experience, and they need Manu. They need something. I know the way that Manu plays is in the style with what Sale do anyway, but they just need a bit of sparkle elsewhere. Because, I'd hate to play against Sale. Out of all the teams, I'd hate to defend against them. Even off a kickoff, when you kick to one of the three brothers, and you're thinking, just set up a ruck, mate. Just set up a ruck so you can kick. He's trying to fucking monster people from there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'd just be like, someone send the rabbit out, not Ashy, but send the rabbit out to make the tackle. But I like Sale. Yeah. I like Sale. You saw the emotion after the game, and yes, albeit it didn't look like Leicester because of all the changes, but it's going to be a hell of a race now to the top 4.
And if those Sale boys want to boom, my God, can they boom, all of them. But you're right, obviously Will Cliff played at 9 and Rafi Quirk's away with England. Him and Fafter-Clerk are so important to that team. And you stick Manu in the mix, they can make a run for it later. Apparently Manu's only a couple of weeks away, so watch out for his boom as well. Imagine every player at Sale just being able to smash the living daylights out of someone. If you ain't getting boomed by one of the Duprees, you're getting boomed by Manu. You ain't getting boomed by him, you're getting boomed by John O'Ross. There's just a lot of boomers in that team, isn't there?
On Sale, I'm going to make a big call here, and you can reference me. What date is it? Monday, the 31st of Jan. Gosh, 2022. Next year, I reckon Sale are going to win the Prem.
Ooh.
He said it here first. Big shout.
Said it here first. If I don't, I'll whip all my teeth out with some pliers like that bloke on social media that I put out. I can't do that. Hey, well, it's probably not a bad thing. The missus will be happy if I pull my teeth out. But I think Sale. I think there's something happening there. Maybe it's my love for Alexander. I don't know. Something.
And it was the Good Hamilton derby on Sunday as well between Wasps and Saracens. We talked about it briefly before. How'd that one go, lads?
Well, I'm just going to start off in the pre-match and talk about the Andy Good suite. So I had Jack Willis and Tom Willis come on stage, and I did a bit of a stand-up beforehand. And then...
What do you mean stand-up? As in comedy?
I go on stage and I welcome everyone into the room, and I welcome the Saracens fans. And I said, is there any in the room? There's about 5. And I said, ladies and gentlemen, that is Saracens' whole supporter base right here today.
Banter.
Yeah, just a bit of banter, a bit of chat. Didn't mention the salary cap at all, really. Didn't mention anything like that. And it was all...
I bet you didn't.
It was all good value. People were laughing. There was about 500 people in the room, and it was good fun. Then we had Jack and Tom Willis on stage and all that stuff. Anyway, I finished all my Q&As pre-match, so I'll do about 4. And then I flipped out the old phone, and there's one Saracens fan that's come at me and called me a bellend on Twitter. I thought it was hilarious because obviously he was sat in that room.
Because he was right.
Well, he's probably, yeah, well, I can be, yeah.
Hey, I've seen the end of your piece, and to be fair, it's massive.
So
actually, you might have one of the biggest helmets I've ever seen, and I've seen
helmets. Thank you. I don't know whether that's a compliment, James, but thank you. Yeah, and it was quite funny. But then onto the ruggers. So his day started off pretty badly, whoever he was, not taking the banter. It was all light-hearted fun. Everyone found it funny except for him. And then it obviously got worse for the ruggers, James. And how did it go, Jim?
Well, I revert to my notes. Spink try. Good. Wasps defence. Tick. Even on Lewington's try, Marcus Watson's tackle on Billy Vunipola. Very good, tick. Massive kick from Loza at the end. A bonus point. Tick. All in all, tick for Wasps. That's what I had in my notes. Do you want me to open up a little bit on that? Oh, I can open up a little bit on that. Wasps had some players back, didn't they? They had Dan Robson back, Launchbury, Fekatoa, my old selfie, was back as well. Gopperth playing well. It's, again, I did apologise a few weeks ago about my comments on Wasps, and for whatever reason, there seems to be issues each season with injuries. They obviously had a couple of big weeks in Europe, but the Prem is going to be the one, as we know, which is the big one, which we're talking about, trying to make the top 4, and they've had loads of injuries. But when I put Spink try tick, the one after that, Wasps defence tick, oh my physical. They were, even when Sarries scored, they were getting absolutely blitzed in defence. And that's a team that is not necessarily riding high, that is in a mentally good place. That's what I thought. I watched them play and I thought, this looks like a completely different Wasps team to what we saw a few weeks ago. And without stating the obviously having Launchbury and Dan Robson and Fekatoa on the bench, you know that he's coming on, it's going to make a huge difference. But deserved the win. It wasn't even like it was close.
It wasn't even close. 50 points. It's 50 points, Jim. 50.
What was the score?
Well, 26 points to 20.
There you go.
But you scored a try in the last minute.
Well, fair play to Loza. That's a
hell of a nudge. Hell of a nudge to get the losing.
Hell of a nudge in a game where obviously they know they need to get the bonus point, but he just makes it look easy. But it's all about Wasps. Like this game's all about Wasps, and I just go on the defence. Like Marcus Watson, that tackle on Billy in the like, who's making that tackle? But I know they scored off it, and Lewington scored. But my point being is, I saw enough in Wasps there where I'm like, again, trying to call the top 4. But I will be honest with a negative point. Got to call it out again. I don't know whether it's COVID. Where are all the fans?
Mate, Andy Goodey was absolutely rammed.
Prove
it's a 32,000 seat stadium, Jim.
It looked like
COVID, and blame COVID.
Yeah, everything. China. Can you say that? Not probably not.
Sarries weren't too far off. I played some good stuff, but hey, it's the reality of not being able to break the salary cap anymore. When your internationals are away, your squad isn't. There's no Big Willie, Little Willie. There's no Jim Hamilton. There's no Liam Williams. All these other guys, and it's it's a reality. So good win for Wasps. Saracens played some good stuff, but yeah, the biggest plus was the Andy Goodey. It was absolutely rammed, and one Saracens fan went home absolutely raging.
Talking of salary cap, Jimmy Gopperth off to Leicester, announced last week. I don't think it was properly announced, but I saw a few articles saying so. Two-year
deal.
Why not?
It's a bit. 39 years of age and signing a 2-year deal. You can only fully tip the slipper to him because he's in good form. He rocks up every week. And listen, Wasps, it's not to do with the salary cap. It's to do with questions around, where do you see, Jimmy's taking a 2-year deal at Leicester. Wasps were like, we can offer you a 1-year deal, but we can't justify offering a 39-year-old a 2-year deal. So off he goes for a 2-year deal to Leicester. So, he's been a brilliant player for Wasps. He's the guy that took my jersey off my back, put it on all those years ago. He was my replacement. Not like for like, because he was way better than what I was for Wasps. But he's had a hell of a career at Wasps, and everyone should just pat him on the back, thank him for his service, and wish him all the best. But obviously, if you're a Wasps fan, you don't want him to go too well for Leicester against Wasps, but wish him all the best when he's not playing against Wasps.
Where did that win from Bath come from over Quins?
Desperation. Edward Griffiths at the helm.
Yeah!
You know what? I'll be honest with you. I was actually really happy seeing Bath win that.
Mate, why do you hate Quins?
I know that's what it could have been anyone apart from Saracens or Gloucester or Leicester or Sale or Worcester I was happy for Bath. Genuinely, and the way that they won it, because you're watching that game unfold, and right up until the end, you're thinking, nah, they ain't winning this. There's absolutely no chance. So I didn't think Quins played that well. Again, a load of changes in that Quins team. We all know Marcus Smith, how much of a difference he makes. I thought Tommy O'Allen played well, actually, to be fair to him. But
Tommy O'Allen?
Did I say Thomas O'Allen? What is it? Tommy Allen.
Well, his name's Tommaso, but he only wants to be known as Tommy now. But you called him Tommy O, so let's leave it as Tommy O. Tommy O, he's Italian. Tommy O.
I'm multilingual, so in our native tongue, it's Tommy O. I know Tommy. Did a few features with him before, so I'll call him Tommy Yo. But yeah, look, it's been absolutely desperate times at Bath, and they're not going to be in your good. Well, they might be in your good, Andrew, but there's been a lot of call-outs on social media to us, the influencers, to put the Bath fans in the good. And that was one thing that I looked at where I was like, fair play. Like, they've stuck it out, and it almost seems to be like a gentleman and ladies and kids agreement, as in, we ain't going to leave, we're going to stay to the bitter end. And look, there's been a load of big wins over the weekend. I'm sure we're going to go through some of the ones in the URC as well. But it would have been easy for Bath just to roll over and be like, you know what, bugger it. But they didn't, and they beat the champions Harlequins. And again, as we go into this second part of the season, you don't want to see Bath get trounced every week. They're just such a big club, aren't they?
Yeah, a few things. They were down to their fifth choice fly half. Max Ajomo was a centre. He was playing at 10. First time he's played at 10 since he was 16. Had a really good game, actually. Lovely little array of passing. I've spoken about him before on here. I think he's got a massive future ahead of him. Really confident guy. He's messaged me on social media going, just pick me as man of the match before the game. So, fair play. And he played pretty well, but unfortunately Lawrence was picking man of the match on Friday. But yeah, the atmosphere was phenomenal. Quins will be really frustrated with themselves. First 10 minutes, they had about 5 penalties from scrums that I felt there could have been a yellow card. They had a load of opportunities that they didn't take, but you can only sort of look at Bath and go, fair play. Whatever Stuart Hooper said at half time, we know how highly arousing his speeches can be, James. Rousing or arousing? Which one?
Arouse.
Yeah. So they came out in the second half. Nathan Hughes started smashing boys for fun. Tyrone Green.
That was the point that I was looking for, Goodey. Sorry, I papered over the cracks of the headline. Nathan Hughes, right? Yeah. Hartbury, my old dog shit park, and we do like dog shit parks, to be honest.
No, John Barnes, who is the head coach of Hartbury Rugby Club, my old uni mate, absolute legend. He messaged me on Friday going, Bath have just got Hartbury to thank for just getting him back on good form. Because he was banging boys. Mate, tell me about Tyrone Green's ribs. How's he got up from that?
He's a Safa.
True.
There you go, that's it. Only Safa's get up from that, or Scots.
Maybe just Safa's.
I mean, Nathan Hughes, we need to chat a little bit about it. And ask the question, how have Bristol's let him go? He's ended up at Hartbury. They've warmed him up for one. Bath have brought him in. He's dyed one bit of his hair, shaved the other bit of his hair. And next thing he's got, not that he single-handedly won them the game, but he was a huge part to that, obviously. Could have stayed on the whole match. And he gets man of the match. I mean, you talk about turn of events. And this is what I've always said about these lads from Fiji, Samoa and Tonga. Get them angry, get them out of contract, and it's your man all day. Just move out the way. He's got in terms of him personally, he's playing that match, isn't he? It's on TV, it's on a Friday night. Bath at the bottom of the league, they're playing against the champions. You can only say fair play to him, because I've always had an issue with Nathan Hughes, not personally, just as a player. Having played against him, some days absolutely phenomenal, and then you watch him sometimes, you're like, where is he? So he's obviously got that in him, and that's why Bristol's have let him go or whatever. But what a statement and fair play. I forgot about that bit when I was thinking about Bath.
Yeah, he did play well, and there's a shop window for him. I don't think Bristol are renewing his contract at the end of the season. There's rumours of London Irish. I think he spends a fair bit of time down Surrey way anyway, so that might be a good fit with Albert Tuisui going to Gloucester as well, who I think is a great signing for Gloucester actually. But yeah, he was banging boys. He smashed Esther Hazen with Max Ajomo. Tyrone Green had a bit of a Rocky Horror Show at fullback. Well,
that's where Ben Spencer makes a big difference. I think you called it out on comms, didn't you? Like his kicking game, as in having that in the repertoire is, saw Dan Robson with a few good kicks to Wasps as well, but that's massive, and that's something that they've probably been missing. Yeah,
and humbly, I've never played for Bath, obviously, one of the few clubs I haven't played for. I'm down there doing the comms, and we are...
They loved you.
Pitch side. Mate, we're pitch side. I'm stood next to World Cup winner Lawrence Dallaglio, and they're all shouting my name, going, love the pod, Goodey, love the pod. And I'm like, mate, there's a World Cup winner here. Just speak to Lawrence.
There's not just a World Cup winner, Goodey. You're arguably stood next to the GOAT of all GOATs.
One of the GOATs of the game.
I don't. In my opinion, there ain't many better than Lawrence. Like that guy, for me, we've lived and we've walked very different paths, both as players and humans. But if they're calling you out next to the GOAT of all GOATs, then you are a horse, is all I'm saying.
Well, it was interesting. There's two things I heard. Like a couple of them were like, "Where's Big Jim?" And I'm like, "Mate, he's in Scotland. He lives up there, boys. What are you on about?"
I weren't in Scotland. I was in Wales.
No, it's Friday night. Were you in Wales Friday night?
I was thinking about going to Wales. No, so I was basically in Wales.
And then someone's like, "How big's Jim's bush?" I was like, "Massive,
massive."
That's all fun and games.
You mentioned London Irish before. They produced an upset as well, seeing off Exeter.
Not only an upset, but they were 14-0 down after about 20 minutes. Hell of a comeback against a top team that aren't so much of a top team anymore, are they, James? According to results, according to the wise man who said they won't make top four.
They've been concentrating on NFTs this week, haven't they? So they've had a lot going on, a lot of emotion.
Yeah, I like London Irish. Paddy Jackson played really well again. Curtis Rona at 13. They've got their driving line out. Yeah, Adam Coleman, there's been some question marks around him and how much he puts it in at London Irish. But he put it in at the weekend.
On 900 grand, or is this just ban?
Well, it might be 850, but yes, I mean, whatever it is, it's a lot of money.
Even if it's 500, it's a lot of money. I'm not saying that he doesn't deserve that, but he doesn't deserve that, let's be honest.
He played well at the weekend. But the biggest thing to come out of London Irish against Exeter was a mutual friend of ours, Jim Hamilton. I don't know whether you saw this or not. The commander, Nick Wood, Was assistant referee.
Yeah, running the touch.
Yeah, massive shout out to Woody.
I shall run on and hit someone with the flag.
I love Woody. He's a great bloke. Commander in chief of all laws, rules, call him what you will. He was a great bloke. You played with him. I played with him a tiny bit for England, I think, but spent a lot of time with him in and around Cheltenham. He's a great bloke, and it's great to see his bald head. He's lost a shitload of weight, so I need to give him a ring.
On the bike. Good on the bike. Yeah, I didn't even think. I was just consumed with the URC on the Friday night, but yeah, it was good to see him.
Well, let's talk about the URC for a little bit then, Jim. What happened with Leinster? Knocked off by Cardiff.
Yes, they were. And I'm going to take a bit of time to migrate through the two Welsh teams, Cardiff and Ospreys. Ospreys having a huge win against #always as well, because we sometimes speed through it. And there's been a lot of question marks over the Welsh regions, naturally. None of them qualified for Europe. 0 points or something ridiculous like that.
Didn't win a game.
Didn't win a game. Poor in the URC as well. Tom Shanklin, one of their own, is calling them out, asking where they're going to go. So I just jumped on the bandwagon as well and started calling them out. So you're thinking, right, Leinster are going down there, bring your fourth team, and jobs are good, and you'll get a win down there. However it looks, you've only lost one game this season, Leinster. So off you go. Then you look at Leinster's team and you're thinking, right, they've got Sean Cronin, they've got Al Alatoa, they've got Big Dev Toner, Rhys Ruddock, Luke McGrath, Will Connors, Ross Byrne, just to name a few. So you've got a decent team. So you're thinking Cardiff have got no chance. Oh, no. It went down to the wire. So let me revert to my notes because I just want to call a few people out. First 20, all Leinster, tick. Then Cardiff came back. I can't read my handwriting.
Great note.
60 minutes, Leinster, you're thinking, right, they're going to come good. But fair play, and a couple of players stood out. Jared Evans, he got man of the match. Lovely crossfield kick to Owen Lane.
Eleven to win it as well.
Yeah, there we go. Andrew, go on. That's it. We can, mate, you go on. You can input there because it was Eleven to finish.
Mate, it was the penalty to slot it over. Massive spud. You won't see a purer strike than that. When everything's on the kick, the result, if he misses it, game over. If he wins it, he's an absolute legend. The purity of the strike was just phenomenal.
And that is the detail that I cannot give Andrew, because for me, it just looked like a kick. He just got it over and there was a load of cheering.
No, mate, you watch that kick, replay it, the strike, the height of it. It was wonderful. And I've got a question. Owen Lane, I know, we're going to speak to Dan Biggar, and there's plenty of firepower in the Wales backline. How's he not in the Wales squad? How good is he?
Yeah, he was very good. They have got some really good players. A lot of them are in the Welsh squad as well. But you mentioned Owen Lane there. He scored a cracker. Is carrying throughout the whole game as well. And we mentioned Jared Evans as well. And what I do want to do is give a shout out to the number 18, Dylan Lewis. Now, unless you are a super fan like myself, you talk about match-winning, game-turning, season-defining moments. He got an unbelievable turnover at the end of the match. Number 18, in the breakdown. Because you're thinking Leinster, like they're just going to do it physical, the way that they're carrying. So big shout out to Dylan Lewis, who got that turnover, which resulted in them getting field position, and Jared Evans knocking over the penalty for them to win. So huge win for Cardiff against Leinster. And again, this is the thing. Biggs is going to talk about it, isn't he? When the chips are done in Wales, like when they're really, really down.
And there's a lot of chips in Chip Alley as well.
There is. Normally I was eating them off the floor because all the kebab shops are closed.
Because they're down. Because the Scottish chips were down.
Well, they were very down. We never won there.
And on Cardiff, we've spoken about it before. They've had so much adversity, haven't they? They were picking bin men. They were picking electricians the other week in the Champions Cup. I'm really pleased with Di Young. As you know, I know Di. He's a wonderful bloke. Treating me exceptionally well at Wasps. I'm really pleased for him because that is, pants down. Your back's not against. Your tits are against the wall there, everyone. Over what you've been through over the last few weeks, few months, and to beat Leinster in the manner they did was just great.
#always, Jim. What happened?
Can I just start off and tell you where I think it went wrong for Edinburgh?
I know what you're going to say. Don't blame the podcast. Don't.
No, I ain't blaming the podcast. I'm going to blame their social media. So basically, they made you the hero of the last time they won down at Swansea. They put the video out and they said something like Jim Hamilton powers over. It was a pick and go for about 10 centimetres out, but it was a winning try. I can't believe they haven't won there since 2009. And they're celebrating that, thinking they're going to win. And no. The Ospreys come good and you're on comms and you're happy because you're still the last person to score the match-winning try for a Scottish team down at the Ospreys. And you're happy days, eh?
Let's be completely honest and upfront there. And I am not polishing a turd because it wasn't a turd. That try, as shit as it was a £15,000 per man, pro rata try. I scored that pick and go in 2009 against the Ospreys when they were fully loaded, when the Ospreys were the Ospreys. Mike Phillips, Dan Biggar, Hugh Bennett, Adam Jones, Duncan Jones, Alan Wynne-Jones, Mike Phillips, as in Tommy Bowe.
He played twice. Mike Phillips played twice.
Yeah, I don't know if I name dropped him, but I shouted him down twice. That's why I had him in mind. They were fully loaded. Anyway, in 2009, I've done a pick and go, and it was shite. I don't care. It was worth 15 grand a man. The celebrations and I don't care. I'll say it humbly. I've paid for most of the lads' houses, their deposit after that game. That was down to me. So I did want to see them win. But yeah, picking the result, you could only go based on what Ospreys have been like this season, especially away from home. And the energy within Wales and everything that you've read. So you're thinking, #always Edinburgh, missing loads of players. Nothing but, is it? No. First half, Edinburgh looked pretty good. Ospreys were banging boys. They were physical, but they didn't have much else. Decent scrum. And you're thinking, all right, well, Edinburgh are going to run away with it because the brand of rugby that they play went back to a bit of a kicking game. But no, mate, Ospreys just turned the screw. And I was probably more than I was watching the Bath game. I was actually happy for them because, again, listening to Lee Blackett, we mentioned his interview with his emotion after. Anyone who saw the game and Toby Booth was in tears after the game. The emotion of having a game against Edinburgh in the shadows of the Six Nations. Don't know how many people would have been watching it or even seen that interview. But that raw emotion just kind of said everything to me. And we gave Reece Webb man of the match. I thought he was great. Stephen Myler, Andrew, man from your own art, just doing what he does, just kicking them around. But it was more around the physicality that they showed and their desire, never say die attitude. And like they absolutely deserved it. There was no two ways about that. So I think they've taken a beating. It's rightly so that we give them a bit of airtime on the podcast today, both Cardiff and Ospreys. And that is the thing, when you lead into the Six Nations and we're thinking, again, everyone's thinking, well, Wales, no chance. You know what I mean? No chance. But
you're not right. You're not writing them off again, are you, Jim?
I can't embarrass myself, but I might say the finish fifth.
Well, we've talked about how excited you guys are about the live show in Edinburgh. How excited are you about the Calcutta Cup?
Very, in terms of seeing and being there and all this stuff. We the rivalry is huge, and obviously what's happened over the last few years, Scotland have got their tails up. Won down at Twickenham last year.
We haven't just got our tails up; we have got our kilts up, and there's some long old helmets on show.
Your little pieces are hanging out everywhere.
There is some monsters on show. There ain't no tail. Well, they are tails.
I'll tell you, Chris Harris. Yeah. What I will say is, I'm nervous. I'm going to say it. Scotland are favourites. Your favourites, Jim. Can you handle the pressure of being favourites?
Oh,
you talk yourselves up year after year. When you're the underdog, you see, when you're the underdogs, you talk yourselves up and go, this is our time. You're going to suffer defeats. You're going to. There's expectation now in Scotland. Like now you're not playing. Now they've got some decent players through all this. They're in some good form. They've bounced back from the embarrassing World Cup, all this stuff. Your favourites, Jim.
Oh, I don't know about that, but you're probably right. When you look at it on face value, and Glasgow beating Exeter in Europe, albeit one game, and Edinburgh top of the URC.
Exeter put about 100 on Glasgow a few weeks later.
Yeah, but they've changed their logo, so you can't respect them as much, can you now? So it's you know what? When you look at it and you delve a bit deeper into it, Scotland have to be the favourites. They're at home. They've got all their players. They're fit. They've got the best players fit. And again, there's not as much information coming out as much as it was. Maybe we're not as close to, the England team in terms of knowing who's fit or who's going to play. And you sometimes get wind of that. But England, it just seems a bit disjointed at the minute, doesn't it? Joe Marler's got COVID. Johnny Hill's touch and go. Obviously, Faz is out.
Courtney Laws is touch and go. Joe Marchant's got COVID.
So you want, they've got to travel up to Scotland. I mean, the difference is this match to last year is the energy around the fans. That's the big thing. And I think that's going to be the big factor in this game for both teams, like how Scotland manage their emotions in a full stadium. Obviously, the win against England last year at Twickenham, there was no fans, and I was lucky enough to be there. But that
didn't count. Doesn't count.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it doesn't count. Let's say this one doubly counts then. But I think Scotland are in such a good place. But Goodey mentioned it. The pressure's on now, and we never do well when we're expected to win. We just don't. So that is the shift now, isn't it? Because any paper you read, whether or not it is Surrey and McGeechan or Sam Warburton or credible podcasters like myself and Goodey, we all think that Scotland are going to be good. And that's the pressure, because really, when you look at it, we should beat England at the weekend for the reasons that we've just gone through. Scotland, we've got strength and depth. Duhan van der Merwe is fit. Finn Russell's on form. Stuart Hogg's in form. We've got a load of centres that we can choose from.
Who are you going with? That's a massive question. Who are you going with in the centres?
Well, I think he'll go with what he knows. I think he'll go Sam Johnson and Chris Harris. I wouldn't be surprised if Cam Redpath starts at 12, but he's only played 2 games. Sione Tuipulotu played really well for Glasgow. He offers something different. If we're getting to the crux of it, why not? But I think as Duhan van der Merwe's fit, they might not need him. Hamish Watson will start, but you've got Rory Darge pushing him close. We've got a number of second rows to choose from. So we're in a good place from a Scottish perspective. But England, as we know, have got a pool of players to choose from that arguably is bigger and better than anyone in the world. And they're well coached. And England are never going to be crap. They're just not. Look what they did to New Zealand. They keep going back to that game in the World Cup. No one saw that coming. And look what they did. So
before we get on to England, what kind of game does Scotland need to play to win this, Jim?
Rugby.
All out ruggers. I think they need to not play how we think they're going to play with Finn at 10. I think there needs to be a more strategic approach. That's what I think.
Ain't never happening with Finn Russell, is it?
I think they will. I think he'll kick more. I can't remember what happened in the second half of the game at Twickenham, but I'm sure he kicked a lot more. I'm sure we were just extremely physical. We won all the collisions, and our kicking game was strong. And that's what we're going to need. And the thing is now, I think off the back of the Lions, guys like Ali Price and Finn and Hoggy, where there was a lot of kicking, will understand that you need a bit of kicking in the game. But also, I don't know, it's hard because you don't know who England got. If England have got Marchant and they've got guys like this who are good in the intercept, Finn wouldn't have been throwing balls, I don't think. But it just depends on what team England pick, I think, of how they'll play without trying to paper over the question or over the cracks or glue the questions, whatever I'm trying to say.
Set piece is going to be key as well, isn't it? Like, we know the weather's going to be probably brutal. It always is in that game, isn't it? It's either cold, windy, wet, whatever up in Edinburgh. And that set piece battle is huge, because when you're talking about Finn Russell's kicking and having a more strategic approach to how they play, you can only really do that with a solid set piece at times as well, can't you? Otherwise you're kicking under pressure, and that leads to other errors. Then Finn Russell starts to think, right, let's chuck it around a bit more because we can't get anywhere with our set piece or whatever. So that set piece battle is going to be massive. Now, I know Joe Marler's got COVID. I expect him to come back and he'll probably be on the bench. But Ellis Genge, Luke Cowan-Dickie and Carl Sinclair as our front row are going to try and put Scotland under a huge amount of pressure because there will be knock-ons, there will be scrums.
I don't think they can. I don't think that front row can.
You don't think?
Nah.
Okay.
Well, I think well, that's what I mean. It'd be good to sit and chew the fat over a beer. Andrew, I don't think they will dominate set piece.
We'll have about 30 this week, each day responsibly, will we?
We probably don't want to see a pint again at a rugby match, but yeah, I don't think they will. I think a lot of it will come down to, without stating the obvious, and maybe you can say and talk about it, Goodey, but how good is Marcus Smith up against Finn? It's going to come down to that, isn't it? And it'll be coming of age for Marcus Smith. It really will.
Yeah, I mean that's I asked Jim who they're going to pick in the centres for Scotland. Who are England going to pick in the centres for us? To play outside Marcus Smith. Obviously, Northmore's in the squad. I'd pick Atkinson at 12. I think he's really good. I think he's very similar to Esterhuizen in terms of what happens at Harlequins, which gives Marcus Smith a focal point to go to in terms of needing some power and bulk to try and get over the gain line if things are going wrong. Because we know, Marcus Smith is going to do his goose step. He's going to pull out his bag of tricks where he's trying to pull defenders out the line. He really is a joy to watch, Marcus Smith. And the same goes with Finn Russell. These are two of the best attacking fly halves, instinctive, that can see things that perhaps other fly halves can't necessarily see and can act upon it as well because they've got the skill set to do it. I can't wait to watch it. Now, Henry Slade is probably going to play. I'd pick him at 13. There's chat of him playing at 12. I'd go Atkinson at 12 and Henry Slade at 13. I think by the fact that Joe Marchant has had COVID and he picked it up late on Friday, he's going to miss a hell of a lot of training this week. He was actually picked, Joe Marchant, on the wing for England's last game in the autumn. So, you're then looking at what wingers is he going to pick? Freddie Steward's a shoe-in at fullback. Who do you pick on the wings? Jack Knoll, for me, the physicality, his form again for Exeter. He's bounced back from a lot of injuries that he's had. We know Johnny May's out. Joe Marchant is going to, he's obviously struggling. I'd like to see, could be a baptism of fire, but Ollie Hassel-Collins, I think, has made more meters, beaten more defenders than anyone else in the Prem. I know Adam Radwan's been called in. He was ridiculous again every time he touches the ball at the weekend. Max Malins, potentially, because the kicking battle, he might be playing on the wing. So there's loads of selection questions for Eddie Jones, but effectively it's the centre selection and who's going to play outside Marcus Smith that's key for me to understanding how we're going to play. And whether he goes with Northmore at 12, I'd go with Atkinson. We shall see.
Let's look ahead to the Ireland-Wales game now as well. Wales, as always, heavy underdogs, but they always manage to, as we say, pull it out for the Six Nations, don't they?
They do. And listen to Johnny Sexton, and that was the questions that I had that he answered, not the questions that I asked him because I haven't spoke to him, but other people asking him around them being undercooked. And you have to look at that because the large bulk of that team is obviously Leinster. And they've been comfortable, haven't they? They've not really been tested in Europe. They've had a couple of stand-down weekends, and every game that they play, apart from the game against Cardiff, has been comfortable for them. Whereas Wales, it's been battle after battle, week after week, battle-hardened. But when you look at the two squads on paper, and you look at what Ireland did to the All Blacks, you can't see anything but, can you not? But the thing is with Wales, and I go based on my history with them, writing them off, last Six Nations are going to finish 5th, World Cup, no way are they going to do anything in the World Cup. And they limped through into that semi-final and nearly beat South Africa. They're one of these special teams, aren't they, that for whenever they put on that jersey, something happens. So you don't want to write them off, but you can't look past Ireland. And I'm going based on Ireland. That game against the All Blacks changed everything for me in terms of how well they played, how physical they were, and they transferred what Leinster have been doing and the dominance that they've had in the Pro 14 URC and a lot of time in Europe internationally. And I just thought that was frightening to see because you're like, actually, like, they're the team to beat. Yeah.
And listen, Wales have got a lot of firepower in terms of their back line. They've got Liam Williams, they've got Lewis Rees-Zammit, Josh Adams. When you go and look in the centre, obviously Dan Biggar's going to play at 10. Halaholo might play in the centres. He's perhaps got a hamstring injury, so we'll find out. There is talent in this Wales backline. They've lost a lot of their experience up front, haven't they? And they, in the autumn, Basham came in and did a really good job. Ellis Jenkins came back from fitness, from a decent knee injury, and was outstanding. So Wainwright's a really good player, looking at number 8 to replace Faletau as well in the long term. So they have got good players, and like you say, they always surprise from, and their regional form doesn't then transfer into the Wales jersey because the regional form isn't great, and then they grow a pair in a Wales jersey. So, but you're right, Jim. Yeah, we're going to Dublin on Wednesday. I'm saying Ireland by 20 points here, purely because I want to put Blackcurrant and McGuinness, and hopefully that'll be allowed on Wednesday. But when you've dusted the All Blacks, and people question, are they undercooked? They hadn't played that much before they beat the All Blacks, in reality. So they'd all come back off the Lions tour. They played a couple of games to Leinster, then bang, straight into the autumn internationals. And that was a complete performance for me. Both sides of the ball, defence and attack. They're going to be very hard to break down. Love the battle between Sexton as captain of Ireland and Biggar as captain of Wales. Two guys that, let's not forget Dan Biggar got picked ahead of Johnny Sexton for the Lions in the summer as well. So Johnny Sexton will have a point to prove. But for me, it's can Wales stay on the coattails of Ireland long enough into the game to try and cause an upset towards the end, or do Ireland blitz them away with the energy, the power, the precision in their attack? You look at how they attacked against the All Blacks and a lot of the shapes that Leinster put on. We haven't really seen that transfer from Leinster into an Ireland jersey until the autumn just gone. So and there was 12 Leinster starters in that team that beat the All Blacks. So it's Ireland's to lose, really.
We can have a chat to the main man ahead of the game. Wales Captain Dan Biggar is on the phone now. Thanks for coming on. How are you, mate?
Good, thanks. All good.
Biggs, I know you've gone around the houses on this. Obviously, there was a big media week or a few days last week, and you probably just want to get into the games. But we need to touch on it. Being captain must sound amazing, everything that kind of goes with that. Does it feel like that? I know there's some undercurrents around the reasons why. We can maybe get into that as well. But how does it feel to be Wales captain going to the Six Nations?
Yeah, pretty surreal, really, Jim, to be honest. Probably never thought that it would probably come to this. And like you said, admittedly, if there was probably a lot more boys back, fit and available, my name would probably be a little bit further down the list. But as it is, it's a young group, and I suppose as one of the senior guys there now and being around a little bit, just really humbling, really, to be honest, to be thought of in a position to be given it, really.
There's obviously a humble element to that answer there, but I'm a bit surprised by that. And I'm also surprised that you haven't been made captain in other games before, because it seems like you are made from that kind of cloth, everything at Northampton, everything at Wales. Why is that? Why is it not kind of straight away, Alan Wynne-Jones isn't captain? Well, Dan Biggar, one of the most experienced, he's fly half. We've seen Johnny Sexton fly half, Faz as captain from fly half as well, or 12. Why is it not immediate with you? Because it seems from the outside that you are a natural leader. Yeah,
and I think probably we've been lucky, really, that Al hasn't really picked up too many injuries. And Wayne made quite a good point, actually, in terms of when Al's been captain over the last, the number of years that he's been captain. I suppose he's had people like myself to be able to really sort of, as almost as a lieutenant, really, do you know what I mean? To sort of run the team unofficially, really. And him do all the official stuff and the speaking stuff. But I'm not really sure. I suppose it's just a little bit of that, and I suppose it's a bit of there's a little bit of an element of not wanting to put too much on. I know, like you said, Johnny and Faz do it, but I suppose perhaps maybe if there's other people who've got the option to do it, not think, obviously myself, I've got to think about goal kicking, running the team, leading training, standards, picking things up. So there's a lot on the plate, but perhaps that's a reason. And I suppose I'm actually really looking forward to it, this campaign. It's a different side of it. I quite enjoyed the media side of things in terms of the launch day on Wednesday as a bit of a change. And just really looking to not take it. I know it sounds stupid, but not take it too serious, if that makes sense. I don't want to be the first thing I said to Wayne was, I said, if I'm gonna do it, I don't want to change how I am around the camp, how I am around the team room, or how I am in terms of my character being quite spiky and competitive and things on the field as well. So ultimately, there's got to be now that you're captain, there has to be a line where you have to lead by that example as well. But I said to him, I really don't want to change my character or my personality too much if I'm going to accept the job as well.
Just worked out why I was never captain of any teams then, because you mentioned a few things there: leadership, leading by example, and training standards. I mean, that must have been where I went wrong. But one of the big things for me, Jim Hamilton on our podcast here, and me and Jim go back a long way, he claims all the time he was everyone's vice captain. Now, you've clearly been a vice captain, whether officially or unofficially, for Wales over a long time under Alan Wynne-Jones. Who are you leaning on now in the Wales squad to be your Jim Hamilton? Because it's according to Jim, it's a massively important job, right?
Yeah, it is. I think it'll be. I think probably even more so Goodey for me in this scenario, because I've said a couple of times this week. I don't want my voice to be the only guy here, because you know what it's like, Goodey, from 10. You naturally speak a lot in terms of having input into whatever it is, set plays, what you want from your line-out callers, all different kinds of things. But I've been really conscious that I've leaned on Adam Beard, obviously being the official vice captain, but Tom Francis, people like John Davis, Ellis Jenkins, guys who've got some, a lot of experience. I need their voices to be heard, probably more so than when Al was captain, or we've got a lot of senior boys, because I really don't want my voice to be sort of barking orders and speaking up from a playing point of view, and also from having to drive things, whether it's off the field or training standards or whatever it is. I want to try and really, so it's not just white noise. And the best sort of qualities I found with good captains I played under are they know when to speak and what to say at the right time. So it's not so it very much isn't just white noise and you're just switching off when the same voice is saying things, whether they're right or wrong. Sometimes if it's just one voice constantly, it's a little bit of white noise.
Biggs, how has it been in terms of managing the Northampton? Again, when we have you on, we always speak about it, but the other lads who are centrally contracted, for example, would have been there in this week in the lead up to the championship. Yeah. You've obviously gone back and played against Worcester. Is it nice having that little bit of separation to kind of not have the big build-up or 2 or 3 week build-up that you might have had if you were centrally contracted?
Yeah, I quite enjoyed going back, actually, because I think a lot of boys went. Obviously, there's a few boys in England who went back. A lot of boys actually went back to get some game time with obviously the way that the situation's gone in Wales with the COVID and lack of game time and things. So there hasn't been a huge amount of boys in camp. So it hasn't been a huge amount of actual, I suppose, team and preparation stuff. It's more been about just getting boys up to speed physically and picking up bits and pieces. So that'll start on Monday, really, when we go in tomorrow. But I really quite enjoyed going back and playing, because just keeps you on top of things, keeps you sort of match sharp, and as opposed to perhaps, because we didn't play the Racing game, which was called off due to COVID, and so it would have been 3 weeks if I hadn't played yesterday. So I always feel, for me, I'm always a better player if I'm playing more often than not anyway. So it's been great, and to be fair, Northampton have been brilliant as well in terms of they're quite flexible in how they need me back if I need to miss a couple of things or whatever, and basically just be right for the game. Then that makes a big difference as well. So it's not like I'm getting flogged in the week in training and then having to battle it out on Saturday. But no, it's been good, and obviously good to go back and get a bonus point win as well. And again, it keeps that, I suppose, your confidence and momentum headed into a big week as well.
Yeah, certainly does. One of the things I want to ask you about, I did notice that as soon as you got the bonus point, you came off at the weekend. Was that your call or was it the coach's call? Because it was just about getting the bonus point and then get your tracksuit on and get yourself back to Wales. I got to be honest. When we were 19-3 up, we actually played in. It was actually really windy at Six Ways on Saturday, and we were 19-3 up at half time after playing into the wind.
So if I'm honest, I thought we probably could have got it done within 50 minutes or something, scored a couple of quick tries, but we decided to make it a little bit harder for ourselves and drag it out till 70. But no, I think there was always a plan. Obviously, James Grayson being on the bench, need him to get a bit of game time, and it just made sense really then once that was done to get off and avoid any bumps and bruises. But I'd definitely say it was Boydie's call as opposed to me dictating to him.
Biggs, I was going to ask about the mood in the camp, and it would have been probably more difficult to answer before the weekend, but I was down your old neck of the woods. Well, it's still your neck of the woods, but you're not there as much.
Yeah, I saw you were down there, Jim. Yeah.
Yeah, the mighty Ospreys had a big win against the #Edinburgh.
Have they stripped all the pictures of me down there now? They've ripped all those down.
They're putting them back up. The funniest thing was, Biggs, they were digging through the archives, and the last time Edinburgh won, not that I'm trying to make this all about me, it was in 2009. You were playing, you had a hell of a lid, actually. It was almost
I saw that. The highlights. Yeah, some highlights in there as well.
I know, but I need to get to the point was the last time Edinburgh won there was 2009, and the vice-captain, Jim Hamilton, scored a pick-and-go try, and Edinburgh got a 15 grand bonus because we finished second per man. So, not to make it about me, but we were thinking in the lead up to that game, Edinburgh are going to smash the Ospreys, not smash them. Yeah. They're going to beat them. Leinster, if they put the fourth team out, they're going to beat Cardiff. Everything is against the regions, even the media, the people asking questions, people that have played for Wales, people that have played for the regions. But now we can speak about it slightly better, a bit more energy. How are you watching that? How are you finding that now you are captain, with the lads not doing so well in Europe and all the injuries and everything that goes around the politics of the regions?
Yeah, if I'm honest, Jim, it's nothing really new for us in terms of in Wales, because, probably over the last 10 years, how successful the national team has been. I don't think anybody could argue that probably the regions haven't been as successful as they would have wanted to have been. Sort of whether it's, we've had the odd bit of success over the last 10 years, but on the whole, we've always tended to come in a little bit on the back foot with, obviously your Irish clubs and English clubs and French clubs probably doing a fair bit better than we have over the last 10 years anyway. So it's kind of nothing really new that, and we always tend to judge ourselves off what we do in the Welsh jersey or as a Welsh team anyway, because we always seem to come together. We've got quite a set, even though there's a lot of boys out, it's quite a settled group. So it's almost like a club environment when we come together, if that makes sense. So it's kind of like we put everything aside for those periods. We know that we get brought up to speed quickly with the physical conditioning and the mental side of things. And it's kind of just like business as usual. And I think we're almost better as a nation when we've got our backs against the walls a little bit, and perhaps the favourite tags is something that we don't perhaps deal with that well in Wales, success and things like that. So it's nothing really new for us, and it's something that we'll be judged on how we go over the next sort of 5 or 6 weeks, as opposed to sort of this is probably just regular occurrence for us, knowing that we're a little bit behind the 8 ball when we come in.
It's interesting though, isn't it? Because, and I'm sure there's other people that have read this. And I know you're not massive on social media or anything like that, but does it infiltrate into the squad? You've got people like Clive Woodward writing you off already. Jim Hamilton's written Wales off previously. Does it infiltrate into the squad? Because ultimately it must inspire you guys to say, actually, everyone's talking about Ireland, everyone's talking about France, and similar things were said last year, and then lo and behold, Wales go and win it, and Jim thought you were going to finish 5th. So is it something that spurs you on, especially now as captain? Because is it all about inside noise or just outside noise as well?
I think again, Goodey, if we're honest, probably if you look back over the last 10 years, if we'd have gone into every Six Nations we've gone into, if you went into a bookies, you'd probably find that France, England and Ireland were more fit, were favourites with the bookies as opposed to us. So I suppose even coming off the back of winning it last year, and admittedly there's a lot of experience which we're missing and a lot of players out and bits and pieces, but for us again, it really is just sort of business as usual. We're never, I suppose, when the tournament starts and everyone's on a level playing field, when you look at the resources and the depth that France, Ireland and England can produce, just those three alone, you're automatically going to be on the back foot. And But for us, it's one of those things where we always probably start the tournament as 4th or 5th favourites anyway. So it's kind of just, we'll rock up and the both of you know that the competition hinges on probably the first couple of weekends. If we can get off to a good start, and it's not about playing particularly good rugby or hitting your straps in week 1 or 2. It's about getting results in week 1 and 2, because you don't get a couple of results in those first couple of weeks, and it's a real struggle then, and it's an uphill battle. Whereas you pick a result or 2 up, and all of a sudden momentum just sort of goes with you, a little bit like last year. We rode our luck a little bit in the first couple of games, picked up results, and then all of a sudden momentum, and you get a little bit of luck and the bounce of the ball, and you can fly through the tournament, as opposed to really sort of digging in every single week or every training session.
A huge factor for Wales, and me and Goodey have always said it's one of the best places, if not the best place, to play rugby. Having fans back in, I know you've been quite vocal about it. Obviously, we all have. But how important is that? How special is that going to be? Is it true that has Lewis Rees-Zammit not played when there's been a full stadium?
He played in the autumn. I think he played in the autumn. So he had 1 or 2 games in the autumn, but that was his first. So I think he's on about 10 or 12 caps now, and that was his first experience of playing for Wales with a crowd, which is just crazy. Same for Callum Sheedy and boys like that who had really good Six Nations last year. And I think especially the Six Nations, when because what it's like, you get the away fans just pile in, don't they? It's a weekend away. Everyone books the weekend or the Friday off work, and they have a long weekend. It's a real occasion, and it's a sort of staple in the calendar, isn't it? So I think the crowds being back. I think crowds being back in general, not just for having home advantage, is so crucial to the sport that we play. And I think for the tournament, the best tournament outside of the World Cup, without a doubt, it deserves and needs fans. And last year was really difficult, even though we had a really successful tournament. It just felt like very much like training matches, and you're playing in the Principality Stadium, and you're playing in the Stade de France, and with nobody watching, it just feels really, really strange. So I think it's brilliant news that we've got crowds back, and obviously for us having 3 games at home is obviously crucial. So we're well aware that that's an advantage for us, but we've also got to take advantage of that as well. And we've got to make sure that if we win our home games, especially this year with playing England and Ireland away, then you win your home games, you give yourself a chance.
And you talk about that first game against Ireland. Obviously, they're coming off the back of a brilliant autumn. Let's talk about the game then, because ultimately, there's a bit of a heads up. You against Sexton, both captains, presuming Johnny's fit and firing as well. It's a massive challenge, isn't it? And I've been reading a lot in the press this week about the selection in the backs, and you're not going to talk to me about the selection, but Josh Adams might move to 13. Halaholo's potentially got a hamstring injury or whatever. But the back 3, you are missing a load of caps, more so up front, but the back line still looks ridiculous. And when Lewis Rees-Zammit scores tries like he did on Saturday night for Gloucester, there's obviously a massive amount of X factor within you. How are you going to go over there and win it?
Yeah, well, I think we're all dreading going into camp tomorrow after seeing that. I think we'll just pretend we none of us saw the try on the weekend for him. We'll just brush over that. But it was a special effort, wasn't it, in fairness to him. In terms of, like you said, Goodey, the back line really hasn't been affected too much in terms of the injuries. Obviously, with George North being out, is a bit of a blow, but generally the back line's untouched, and we've got lots of firepower. So from that point of view, we take there's a huge amount of confidence in the group that if we can wrestle enough momentum up front, we know that we're going to have some strike runners behind. But against Ireland in particular, it's imperative that we don't just absorb what they got, because Ireland's game plan and they've been hugely successful, and their first protocol is about squeezing you, making sure that they've got territory, playing in the right areas, and something that Johnny does incredibly well, has done for the last however long he's been playing. He's going to put them in the right areas and look to strangle us and look for us to be ill-disciplined and create cheap opportunities for them. So it's about making sure that we front up first, rather than, and I think that's what we said, we want to make sure that we go there and we try and get on the front foot, as opposed to just absorbing the waves of Irish attack. And I think if teams that do well against Ireland really go on the front foot and look to be offensive and match them physically. The teams that struggle against them are the teams that absorb and just soak up pressure after pressure, and they've got too much quality and are too well coached for you just to absorb that for a long period.
Biggs, lastly from me, is Alan Wynne-Jones going to be knocking about? Will he be in camp? Will he be riling up the troops? Will he play that role as he comes back from injury?
He hasn't been in this week or last week, sorry. And I don't think. I think he's gone back to the club to carry on with his rehab. But like I think Wayne said in the week, I think you never know with Ali. I don't think any of us expected him to rock up in South Africa the way he did after whatever dislocating his shoulder. But I'm sure if there's any chance of him being fit, he'll be knocking around and getting back for the end of it. But I think at the minute we have to accept that for the first time in a long time, we're dealing without the great man. So we'll knuckle down and wouldn't be surprised to see him walk through the door, but it's certainly not on the agenda at the minute.
You sound there's a chance though. That's all we need to know. The legend could return. Last thing I'm going to ask then, Biggs. I love your passion when you play, and as an ex-10 myself, you're always questioning referees' decisions as a 10, and you've been renowned for doing that, and you sort of manage the game as you go along. Have you got to change slightly a little bit? Have you got to be a bit more conscious of, which you have done over the last couple of years, no doubt. But has anyone sort of had a word in your ear about maybe competing too much with referees?
Yeah, not probably not conscious. Nobody sort of said it directly, but I think that naturally, even though I said to Wayne, I don't want to change who I am and that drive and will to win, and because I said to Wayne, I said I've got to be the player first as well, because I've got to play. I've got to play well, and that's what drives me, and I've got to be on that edge. I can't be completely, utterly calm, cool, and collective, because that's not my character. But there's absolutely good. Now that the captaincy is on the shoulders, it does come with a responsibility in it. And I think, if I'm honest with you, I think it'll help as well in terms of having those conversations with referees and being able to just have decisions explained, or maybe voice one or two concerns or areas which we feel like we're not getting the rub of the green. So I think it'll be it'll be a big test to show where I've matured and bits and pieces. And I'm one that I'm really looking forward to, because I think you're absolutely spot on the money. It's something that it comes with it, being a captain, but I do think it will really help me in terms of the conversations with referees. But also, I don't want to change how I play the game as a player. And first and foremost, I need to make sure that I'm on the edge and on the right side of it, as opposed to being really cool, calm, and sort of just quite placid in terms of making sure that I just worry about referee decisions. I want to make sure that I'm playing okay, and for me to play okay, I need to be on the edge, sort of thing.
Good stuff. And then finally, did the missus bake you a captaincy cake once she got the armband? Again, if she hasn't, tell her to bake.
She hasn't actually, no. So that may be something, but we're hoping. We've got a few COVID calves going on, obviously, with we're in sort of for a couple of weeks now, so I'm hoping that she's going to send some stuff up to the Vale for Wednesday afternoon, when we have a coffee and a cake, maybe on COVID calf. So I'll get her on the case this week.
Legend. Thanks, Biggs.
Yeah, thanks, Biggs, mate.
Cheers, fellas. Always a pleasure.
Great bloke.
Top lad.
Yeah, top lad, great bloke. He's a brilliant guy, and he's got a massive future in the media as well. Love listening to him. Analyses the game really well, talks really well, and he's going to have obviously a massive role for Wales over the Six Nations. I'm really chuffed to see him as captain. I can't wait to see how he develops, because we know, and I said it to him then, didn't I, about how he is very passionate around trying to get decisions go his way. Can't wait to watch him with the armband on, and hopefully Wales will overachieve, in your opinion, again, James.
Hopefully. Real treat to have him on. Friend of the show.
Well, the Guinness Six Nations is back this week, and so is the Guinness Match Point Predictor. So for those of you that have played before, you know the drill. For those that haven't, make sure you get involved. It couldn't be easier. Just predict who will win each game every weekend. Go up against your mates in a private league, and if you get it right, you win a pint of Guinness. And if you top our Rugby Pod league, you win loads of great prizes like memorabilia and match day tickets as well. Let's get your predictions now then, lads. Should we start with France and Italy?
I mean, there's only one way this is going, though, Jim. I'm going to say France by 30.
Oh, yeah,
that's conservative as well, I think.
Yeah, I think conservative week 1. Yeah, it is game 1. Game's in Paris, though. France, Dupont's just coming back from injury. Will he play? Probably, to get him match fit for the big ones. No disrespect, Italy. Yeah, I'm going to go 32 points to 6. France, obviously.
So what's the differential there, James?
I don't know a lot.
26.
28. 26.
26.
Ireland, Wales.
You go first, Andrew?
No, I went first in the last one, James. So you go first in this one.
Oh, did you? Okay, I'll go first this time. I'm going to say 28-12, Ireland.
28-12, Jim. And what's
Yeah.
that points differential?
That is 12 plus 12 is 24. So that's 12, 24. 4 after that is 16.
Yeah, I mean, your mum. I mean, my mum was your maths teacher. If she taught you that way of doing subtraction, I need to have a word with her because that's shocking.
No, she told me to slow it down and do not be pressurised by anybody, even her own son.
Slow what down? Yeah, I as much as I want Wales to do well, caught Welsh. We're going to Ireland this week. We're in Dublin on Wednesday. I'm going to say Ireland by 20 points. Yeah, I'll stick at 20 points.
All right. And how much is Scotland going to win by, Jim?
What's Andrew first?
How much is Scotland going to win by? The confidence. I suppose, Andy Rowe, you're claiming to be Scottish as well, are you?
Yeah, I'm claiming to be Scottish. I'll put my name to it.
Yeah, because you blew the bagpipes a couple of years ago really badly in Edinburgh.
Tried to, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to lie. I'm pretty nervous about this. Whereas last year I thought we'd win the Calcutta Cup at Twickenham, and the reign of games would continue. The wins going back about 70 years, but I think Scotland are favourites. I really do. I'm going to
hit us with the score. Just hit us with the score.
I'm going to say England are going to win it by 4. I can't
bring himself to say it.
No, I can't. No, I can't.
You can't do it.
Just do it, Goodey.
As much as your favourites, England by 4. Marcus Smith, the wizard.
This shows how much you don't give a shit about your match point predictor, then, doesn't it? Because you're willing to go all the way with this, and I am.
I'd rather lose face than and say England are going to win even if Scotland do win.
I'm just doing my maths here, just to kind of do different scenarios. I can't trust the Met Office app, so I ain't even going to talk about weather. I'm just going to talk an all-out score here, lads. 24-18 Scotland, which is 6 points.
Well done, James.
And, yeah, I know. Well, I did it just before I was adding it up as you were talking, just to make sure that I could be quick this time. Yeah, 24-18. I think it's going to be a cracker. Well, I hope it is. And I hope that after our week ahead that we'll be able to see it properly.
We've got your round 1 predictions, but who's going to win the whole thing?
Really tough one to call, isn't it? Even the Scots, I think they had their best ever Six Nations last year in terms of wins, and they finished 4th. So that was
joint
good.
3rd.
Yeah, wow, 4th. I think, I don't know, the arrogance of an Englishman says France,
where did England
Ireland,
finish last year? Just to jog my mind.
5th, James. 5th.
Oh, was it? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we were poor.
just jogging
basically, we won the wooden spoon that you kept winning all your career. Well, you won the real wooden spoon and the other wooden spoon when Italy lost you by 3 points once. England, we were cracking the Six Nations last year, but yeah, I'm nervous. It's between, for me, pre-tournament, you're asking me, looking at the fixtures, I think France have got the best run of fixtures. If they can dust Scotland away from home, they've got Ireland in Paris, they've got England in Paris. And the form that they were on in the autumn, I think France are favourites for me.
Ireland, Scotland, Grand Slam decider, last game of the tournament.
Scotland in a Grand Slam decider. The only decider that will be is if Ireland have still got the Grand Slam on the line. Scotland won't be playing for a Grand Slam. They'll be trying to stop Ireland win the Grand Slam, James.
I think Scotland will win the first 2 games, and then
Lose to Italy.
Struggle. Well, we got France third game, so. But you're right. You're right. Probably win all of them, lose to Italy. I think
say it, Jim. Say Scotland.
I want to
yourself.
say Scotland. I'm going to say Ireland to win Grand Slam decider last game. I just think because Ireland are at home and we struggle against Ireland, Ireland will just pip us by 1 point. It'll be a controversial decision that should have never been.
All right. Then, well, don't forget, if you want to join in at home, all you need to do is download the Matchpoint app, join our league with the code RugbyPod, and get your predictions in to win free pints and other great prizes as well. Thanks, Jim. Thanks, Goodey. Thanks, producer Tristan. And thank you very much for listening. Don't forget to vote for us at sportspodcastawards.com. Check us out on eventbrite.co.uk if you fancy coming along to one of our live shows over the next couple of months in Cardiff, Manchester, or Liverpool. And make sure you've subscribed on Spotify.
Rugby Spot.
Spotted pod.